applications must cater to various screen sizes and operating system. This simply means any mobile application you're developing must be responsive. You must be able to use it on different devices with different screen sizes, and it must always look beautiful. Yeah. Ensuring that applications work seamlessly across different devices and operating systems is a critical aspect of development. It involves testing on various platforms to guarantee a consistent user experience. So the I mainly use Flutter to code mobile applications, and Flutter in itself is somewhat responsive to a point, but still you still have to make your own responsiveness, add your own responsive code and all that, just to make sure that if I am viewing your application from an iPad, it should look as good as if I am viewing the same application from a phone. So developers need to consider performance optimization. Performance optimization is essential to ensure that applications run smoothly on mobile devices. It includes minimizing load times, efficient memory usage, and maintaining responsiveness to user inputs. So we all of us here we have used apps that we might have seen some apps that possibly the loading screen takes too much time, or to perform simple tasks you have to wait for it to load and process, and honestly it's quite frustrating. So while developing mobile applications, you have to put into consideration the your end users and how they will feel when using your app. Does your app run fast? Does it give them exactly what they want? Those are the things you have to put into consideration when developing a mobile application. So okay, also engaging applications are key to user retention. Engaging applications are more likely to retain users. Developers should focus on creating features that encourage interaction and provide value to the user. Excuse me. This simply means you just have to make your application more interactive and user friendly. So if I am the end user using your application, I should be able to, okay, if I use this application once, would I want to come back? Does it feel easier to use than other application or your other competitors? And put it like that. And also understanding the fundamentals is crucial for beginners. For newcomers to mobile app development, grasping these fundamental concepts is vital. It sets the stage for further learning and development skills. Well, this point is self-explanatory, honestly, because you can't expect to go pro in a particular field without first understanding the basics and the fundamentals of that particular of that whatever you're going into. Same way it is for building applications. You have to first understand the fundamental concepts and the basic laws and the do's and don'ts before building an application. So we'll look at types of mobile apps. So there are three types of mobile apps. There are native apps, web apps, and hybrid apps. The native apps provide the best performance. Native apps are developed for specific platforms, which allows them to leverage the full capabilities of the device, resulting in superior performance and user experience. Later on in the slide, we are going to look extensively at native apps. Web apps are platform independent. Web apps can be accessed from any device with a web browser, making them versatile and easier to update compared to native apps. And the last but not the least, hybrid apps, they offer a blend of features. Hybrid apps combine the benefits of both native and web apps, enabling developers to create applications that work across multiple platforms while maintaining a native look and feel. One minute. Before um, going into application development, you have to first choosing the right type. In fact, you have to first choose the right type of application, the right type of app you want to build for the problem you want to solve, or whatsoever it is you want your app to do, you have to first choose, do you want it to be a native app, a web app, or a hybrid app? Because the choice between native web and hybrid apps significantly influences the development strategy, including time, cost, and user experience considerations. I made more points on this later on in the slide. We will talk about that extensively. For those starting in mobile app development, understanding differences between app types is crucial for making informed decisions about their projects. Yeah, same thing. All right, so we will look at native versus cross-platform app development. Native apps, like I said before, are the okay. So native apps, like I said before, are the apps that are developed for specific platforms, which like they allow you can leverage the full capabilities of your device or the device being that the app is being viewed from. The operating systems you are developing for is the fundamental difference between native and cross-platform development. Native mobile development allows you to build apps for either Android or iOS, while cross-platform mobile development allows you to build apps that target several operating systems. So you can build apps that work on both Android, iOS, maybe Windows, what's the other one? KaiOS, and the rest. So let's look into native mobile applications. Native mobile apps are applications developed to target either Android or iOS. Developers usually code applications in a specific programming language depending on the operating system they are developing for. You write native Android applications using the Java or Kotlin programming languages. The Java was the first language used to create Android apps. I remember when I was younger in secondary school, and I'll be seeing my senior students, the SS classes, the SS3. Every time I was hearing Java, I use Java. Java is used to make this game. Java is used to make this app. And I'm always wondering, what is Java? How can I use this Java? I think that's what sparked my interest for software programming. Yeah. To develop native iOS applications, you use the Objective-C or Swift programming. That's for iOS. Objective-C is a superset of the C programming language, and it is the first language used to write software running on iOS. So the first software for Android was Java. Sorry, the first language used to create Android apps was Java, and the first language used to write software on iOS was Objective-C. Some well-known examples of native mobile applications include Google Maps, that is for Android, Spotify, Pinterest, and WhatsApp. Google Map, I think Google Maps mostly for Android. So there are also pros and cons to native mobile applications, the advantages, disadvantages, and we'll be looking into that now. So the advantages of using native mobile apps are: one, better performance. Create and optimize native apps for a specific platform, can also compile them using the platform's core programming language and APIs. This makes them fast, efficient, and responsive to user actions, like we said before. It has tight security. Native apps can enhance the security of your users' data. They have access to platform-specific built-in security features. Get quality UX. Native apps have a smoother user input and output experience. The look and feel are consistent because they inherit the device's OS interfaces. They follow the design guides for the specific operating system, making the flow of the app feel more natural. You also get full feature set access. Native mobile apps can access all features and functionalities of the device, providing a richer, more integrated user experience. They also gain access to to services like push notifications, which are key to driving user engagement. And last but not the least, minimal bugs. Native app developers get access to updated SDKs, which are software development kits, as soon as they are released. These updates always ship with improvements and new features. So now we look at the disadvantages of native mobile apps. The cost. Native mobile applications are usually costly to deploy. You need to have separate team of developers for the specific platforms. For example, you need developers proficient in Java or Kotlin to create a native Android app, and you also need developers that are proficient in Swift or Objective C to create native mobile apps for running on the iOS. Another disadvantage is the development time. Working on apps for separate platforms is resource intensive and requires more than one team of developers. Maintenance and enhancements also require a lot of efforts. It's like saying you're working on two projects at once. So you go here, you work here, you also have to come and check this one if this one is also working perfectly. So the time you spend developing one particular app, it's more, it's longer compared to if you're using cross-platform apps. And the last but not the least, another disadvantage of native mobile apps are lack of code reusability. You have to create and keep code in separate projects to target different mobile operating systems. You can't mix your code. You cannot mix your code at all. All right. So let's look at the cross-platform mobile apps. Okay. So you create cross-platform mobile applications from a single code base. You don't need to separate your codes and all that. The goal of cross-platform app development is to target different operating systems with one project. You create these apps using cross-platform frameworks, which you use specific SDKs, as software development kits, from a unified API. This enables you to easily access the different platform SDKs and libraries. Examples of popular cross-platform frameworks include React Native by Meta, which uses JavaScript as the programming language, Flutter by Google, which uses that, which is the uh, framework I use, and .NET MAUI, which by Microsoft, which uses C Sharp and XAML. Developers compile cross-platform mobile apps to utilize native UI elements, which give the app a native feel. As mentioned earlier, they provide an abstraction to the underlying platform SDKs. The exposed sensors include access to GPS, battery level, camera, and microphone. Well-known examples of cross-platform mobile applications include the cross-platform mobile applications programmed using the React Native frameworks are Instagram, Skype, Walmart, Airbnb, and I'm sure most of us have used these apps, so we know that surely we always have to grant them access to your camera, your GP, your location, your microphone, and all that. And then cross-platform mobile applications built using Flutter framework are Google Ads, My BMW app, eBay Motors, and New York Times. And last, cross-platform mobile applications built using the Xamarin, which is the .NET MAUI framework, is the World Bank, Fox Sports, Alaska Airlines, and BBC Good Food. I know the one we are we use the most are the React Native, are the apps built using React Native frameworks as Instagram, Skype, Walmart, and the rest. Okay, so let's look at the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of cross-platform app development. Okay. So the advantages, let's look at the advantages now. The first advantage is low costs as opposed to the disadvantage of native mobile applications, which the costs are high. The advantage of cross-platform development is that you have lower costs. Cross-platform mobile development needs only a single team of developers knowledgeable in the chosen framework. So you don't have to split your code base. You don't have to write separate codes for the same project. The app reaches a wider audience so it can start gaining traction and testing the market. The second advantage is code reusability. Cross-platform app development frameworks allow you to use a single code base. This ensures consistency in the business logic used as opposed to native app development. Another advantage is rapid development. By reusing code and improving productivity, you get to market faster. Cross-platform frameworks have also optimized the process of app testing during development. And the last advantage is easier maintenance. Updating a cross-platform app is easier because you are dealing with a single code base as opposed to native app development where you have to update the Android version and still go back and update the iOS version, which takes more time and effort. In cross-platform app development, you just need to update a single code base. All builds targeting the different platforms use the same code, ensuring consistency. So now let's look at the disadvantages of cross-platform development. You leave a larger digital footprint. Cross-platform apps are usually larger, and you need to pay attention to the mobile optimization options available. There are also difficult integrations. The cross-platform frameworks do not integrate all platform-specific features. Some hardware-specific integrations, like using GPUs, might need skills in native app development. Another disadvantage is lower performance. Cross-platform frameworks usually bundle a custom runtime to your app. It's responsible for communicating with platform-specific services. This adds another layer of computation, which can lead to lower performance. The last disadvantage is delayed platform features. New SDK releases typically include new features and updates. With cross-platform frameworks, you have to wait for a separate update to access these newer features. So let's look at which development platform is best between native and cross-platform apps. So the decision to develop a native or cross-platform app is crucial. There are several scenarios that benefit native over cross-platform apps and vice versa. Let's look into a few areas. Time to market. It's a widespread concern for startups and new product lines. You want to ship the project early to start getting quality feedback from users. The cross-platform app development would be a best fit in this scenario since it takes a shorter amount of time to develop and deploy, as it's quick to build and iterate. While native mobile development will be time consuming and harder to maintain, which ultimately makes the time to market slower. And then the second point, security. You need to consider the reputation of the business and the impact that losing users' trust would have. The risk can be very high for certain types of mobile applications, such as banking apps. Banking apps, they need almost maximum security. In these scenarios, native mobile development will be a better choice because it provides many built-in security features, including file encryption and intelligent fraud detection using specific operating system libraries. While cross-platform mobile development is ideal for getting the app to market faster, native apps provide superior security, stability, and scalability. Third point is performance. Mobile apps can have high compute requirements, especially for games. You know how much space and how much memory your games take on your phones or your laptops. For apps that need accelerated performance, native mobile development is often the best fit. Using cross-platform frameworks in this scenario would require extra effort and native app expertise. Optimizing performance for a specific operating system enables you to ensure your application runs as efficiently and effectively as possible. Excuse me. Excuse me. So for performance, native mobile development is the way to go. And development, the last point is development costs. Some companies have higher budgets than others to develop mobile apps. For lower budgets, opt for cross-platform apps as you only need a small team. Cross-platform development also allows you to keep costs in check by reusing your code and projects. So when it comes down to development costs, for based on your budget, if you have a higher budget, you can go for the native app development. But for some of us that have low budgets, the best way to go is to use cross platform to develop cross platform apps. You only need a small team, less time, less development costs, and all that. So, and you can also reuse your code to create other projects. So, whether your users are on Android or iOS operating systems, you need to ensure you create your application with security, performance, and scalability in mind. No matter whether you're going for native apps or cross-platform apps, you need to always put into consideration your end user security, the performance of the application, and scalability. So there's no one size fits all solution to developing a mobile application. Neither cross-platform nor native development will be best suited to you to every use case. Continually, continually assess the unique needs of each mobile app project to determine if it's better suited for native or cross-platform, and consider the future plans for the application even when you are just getting started. So like I said, this course is like everything you need to know before getting into mobile app development. So before you build any app, you first have to you have to put into consideration the type of app you want to build. Do you want more security or performance, or you just want lower development costs? You can't say you use for every project you do, you use native app development. You juggle between the two. When you look at the type of app you want to build, your end users, and your future plans for the app, you have to decide: do I use native mobile apps, or I develop cross-platform apps? So the key programming languages and frameworks in mobile app development. Let's look at the key programming languages and frameworks. Since it directly affects the efficiency, scalability, and user experience of the app, selecting the appropriate programming language is absolutely vital in the creation of mobile apps. Developers in fast expanding mobile sector have to choose from many programming languages, each with special benefits. Choosing the ideal language can be intimidating, particularly given factors such compatibility, factors such as platform compatibility, development speed, and future proofing. So the key programming languages and frameworks used for mobile app development are Java, Kotlin, Java for Android apps, Kotlin for Android, Swift for iOS, JavaScript, which works with React Native, Dart, Flutter, and C Sharp with Xamarin, and Python, Kiwi and Beware. So I made an extensive this for choosing between iOS and Android development, but because of time, I might not fully go into it. But let's read the points, right? So for choosing between iOS and Android developments, choosing between iOS and an Android app development is like choosing a car. Ferrari is already a classic. Every self-respecting car enthusiast would like to see such horsepower in his or her garage. But looking at the long run, when you think about usability, how how many times or um it's is it wise to use a Ferrari for a family trip? No, it's not. Sometimes you can have a Ferrari, but to move load, you will not use your Ferrari. Trust me, you will not. So it's the same thing as choosing between iOS and Android development. You can't. It's not a one size fits all something. You have to look at the kind of app you want to build and decide if is every operating system is good in its own way, but the challenge is to decide which one is right for you now for your current business needs. So the main differences between developing Android and iOS applications are the programming languages. So like I said earlier, programming languages for Android development are Java and Kotlin, while for iOS is Swift and Objective C. So depending the differences between the programming language differences between iOS and Android have to be put into consideration when deciding which type of operating system you want to build an app on. In the case of iOS development, the Swift programming language is used and it's currently considered more desirable and recommended because it provides more speed, better memory handling, and increased performance. Frankly speaking, excuse me, iOS development is often chosen because Swift is easy to learn and use. As for Objective C, on the one hand, this programming language is stable and reliable, but on the other hand, it is difficult to use. And for Android development, it's either Java or Kotlin, like I said. Java is considered reliable and proven over the years, providing a high level of security and reliable performance, and is supported by a large community of developers. Java is often chosen in the case of enterprise software development, while Kotlin is a programming language that can be considered an improved version of Java. It is expressive, concise, and efficient, and it also provides more reliable applications with a lower failure rate. So the second thing to look at when choosing between iOS and Android mobile app development is the complexity level. Excuse me. So iOS app development is easier than Android app development because iOS developers only have to develop mobile apps for Apple devices, which are built the same way. In addition, the Apple ecosystem is closed and regulated. In contrast, Android apps are more difficult to develop because of the compatibility issue. Since Android is open source, this means that any company such as Xiaomi, Samsung, Tecno, or the rest can freely use the operating system in their products, which means ensuring compatibility with devices from different manufacturers is paramount. When building on iOS on the iOS platform, it's more simple because you know you're building specifically for iPhones, just iPhones and other products. But building on Android platform, you know, different manufacturers, different Android companies are going to be using your products. So you have to make sure that your app is compatible with each and every one of those manufacturers. Another thing to look at is the Android and iOS app design. It is worth admitting that the biggest difference between custom app solutions for iOS and Android apps is the user interface design. Applications for each platform are very different, and the difference is visible to the naked eye. The reason for this significant contrast lies in the philosophy of each operating system. iOS app design is all about simplicity and minimalism, which is reflected in the smallest number of navigation elements, a restrained color scheme, simple shapes, and easy navigation. While Android, on the other hand, is characterized by the use of animation, a greater number of saturated colors, and complex interface solutions. Because of the drastically different approaches to mobile app design on iOS and Android, users can instantly recognize the design of the operating system that matches their cultural code and philosophy. The next point to look at is the market share. There are more Android devices in the world than iOS. Okay. That's why we strongly advise you learn about the audience before you embark on creating an app. So you have to know, depending on which country you're going to be, which sorry, excuse me. In the US, iOS sells more than iPhones. So if you're creating an app that is to solve a problem there, your best bet will be to go for an iOS to develop your app on the iOS platform because there are more iOS users. It means more end users to your products. So those are things you look at when building. I think I'm far behind time. Another point to look at is Android versus iOS mobile app development time and budgets. Creating apps for iOS or Android differs in terms of budget and time, and is quite reasonable because different sophisticated tools are used, and the process of development and subsequent testing may take less or more time. But the main difference lies in compatibility. The next point, post-launch support. Post-launch support for Android and iOS apps can differ significantly because the Android operating system supports so many devices and versions. Developers must regularly test and update their apps to ensure compatibility and performance across all supported devices. You can imagine how time consuming the maintenance can be. But iOS, on the other hand, has a more standardized device ecosystem, making it easier to update and fix bugs after launch. But that doesn't mean that iOS developers shouldn't keep an eye on Apple's regular OS updates and new device releases to maintain compatibility and take advantage of new features. Next point is App Store approval process. The approval process for apps varies. In the case of the Apple App Store, the process is usually more rigorous compared to the Google Play Store. iOS apps go through thorough review process that can take longer, while Android apps are usually approved faster. Excuse me. The next point is the ROI issue. So everyone who is planning to create an iOS or Android application is thinking about whether this application will be profitable in terms of return of investments. Profitable in terms of return of investments. It's a very reasonable attitude, and I might not be able to go into it completely because of our time. But iOS users spend more on in-app purchases and paid downloads, which can be explained by the higher average income of iOS users. And there is less advertising on iOS because ads do not generate high profits. And vice versa, Android users spend less money on in-app purchases and are exposed to more app advertising. Next point is security and privacy. iOS is known for its security protocols and privacy policies as end-to-end encryption, regular security updates, robust app verification process, and that's all because it all minimizes any risk to your iOS to your device. Okay, I think I've gone far. I've eaten too much into our time, so I think I'll I'll round up here. If any of you need the slides, you can talk to Mr. Johnson. He already told me that I've gone too much into the time. So please, sir.
All right, all right. Yeah, for well done. I think that was a very insightful time, and it's sad that we don't have too much of the time to demystify so much more about mobile app development. But definitely, we're going to make the slide available on the learning community so that we can all pick it up and also um yeah from there. But yeah, I have some interesting questions which I would like to ask first before we also give the floor to I can see Toby Oluwatobi raising their hand. So before we also give the time for others to ask their question, I want to give throw these few questions. So thank you so much once again, Mfawa. That was really insightful. A lot to know about mobile development, and I feel for a newbie, it already sets a pace for them to be able to um, get into mobile development. So my first question for Mr. Silas. So, Mr. Silas, there's going to be like, I hope this won't be like a debate right now because we have Mfawa who writes Flutter and Silas writes React Native. But my first question to Mr. Silas is so yeah, uh, why do you prefer React Native to other frameworks? I'm sure in the process of learning, you must have had experiences with other frameworks. So why do you prefer React Native? Yeah, that's my first question.
All right, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Uh, it's nice to be here and wonderful presentation by Mr. Amfawa. That was very loaded. So quickly to the question, why did I prefer React Native? Okay, when I was going to start my learning journey, I did not have a laptop basically. So and then I knew I just loved mobile development, and I was like, okay, this is what I would do. So I just like, okay, let me just start learning programming. And okay, I started with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript using my mobile phone. And then, okay, I was like, hmm, I don't have a system. Okay, these are how I can learn mobile development, React Native, and Flutter. Okay, since I know JavaScript, okay, why don't I just go for React Native? And then I realized that going through my phone, manipulating one or two things on my phone, I was like, okay, I could do React Native on my phone. And then I found it very interesting that, wow, even with my mobile phone, I could literally start something. I
Wow.
could learn, and then I did not even just learn. I got my first job using my phone.
Wow.
So it was just so that was why I decided to say, okay, this is my niche. This is why I'm using React Native, which is something I know I cannot do with Flutter.
Wow.
So that's it.
Wow, that's so interesting and inspiring to think that you started out your. I think I remember. We've been working together for a long time, and I think I remember the times where you actually were even using your phone to code and doing a lot of great stuff. With you won't even believe that it's Silas is using the mobile phone to code. So yeah, for some of you that follow my WhatsApp status, you see that I've posted some of the times where maybe I do some UIs and then Silas converts it and you see it coming out perfect. So yeah, you can see that the story actually started out from the very, very, very unbelievable point where someone was using a mobile phone to actually code. So I feel like for all of us on the call, and then those who are enthusiasts, who are having that interest to go into mobile, there's really no excuse. I mean, like as long as you have a mobile phone and you can play Call of Duty, then you should be able to do mobile app development. All right. um I, I have a second question. The second question would go to Mr. Mfawa. So, Mr. Mfawa, here's the question. What can you say about the availability of job opportunities for mobile app developers compared to web developers? anybody that wants to go into mobile development, they want to know, if I learn this thing, am I going to get money from it? So what can you say about the availability of job opportunities for mobile developers compared to web developers?
Okay, well, the career opportunities in mobile app development are wide, like they are large. They
Wow.
are a lot. They are a lot. And from my own experience, yeah, I have tried searching for jobs and applying for a few on most of these job recruitment sites and
Yeah.
platforms. And most of the jobs I see there require mobile app developers.
Wow.
It's let me say it's rare, not exactly rare, but it's hard before you see a recruiter asking for web skills, because now
Yeah.
it's very easy to learn web developments on any sites. You can even chat GPT can build you a site
Mm.
free of charge, So
Interesting.
they require people that have actually sat down, took the time and to learn this mobile app developments, mostly in React Native. So the opportunities are there. They are everywhere. Every day I go online, I see new opportunities asking for mobile app developers. So I would say compared to web development, mobile app development is in okay. If I say out of 100%, mobile app should be 75
Wow.
and web 25.
Wow.
So that's
That's interesting. First of all, I hope you know that you have looked for trouble with web developers.
it. Me myself, I'm a web developer, so I'm telling you the honest truth.
So
Before I could land a job with web development, it was hard. But every time I go online, as I'm searching for the web development, that was before I got into
mobile.
app development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always seeing um, mobile app development with React Native, Flutter here. And those are the only things I see. Before I could see web, it took me a lot of time.
The web developers in the house are going to come for you because there are still web developers who are doing a lot, especially those who really know their craft and who are actually doing it excellently. I feel like one of the most important things to note about any tech skill you want to learn is excellence. I feel like excellence is basically everything. Even if you are doing even if you are in practicing something that everybody in the world does, as long as you are excellent, you are the first person that will come to mind when people think of somebody for that role. So yeah, I like the reality about, just like you said, the reality about mobile app developers is that there is not so much of proliferation of that skill yet. So we have just few persons, not too many people doing mobile development professionally, and that's why you see that it's not so common. In like 10, 15 years ago, web development was also like that. If you were a web developer at that time, you are like a hot cake in the market, because for you to develop more web applications or websites for people at that time, you are like one of the toppest people. And then nowadays, now, because a lot of people now have gone into web developers now have to put more pressure on themselves to see that they become much better than the usual, so that they become much better than the usual. So you in the society, you are going to find, like, maybe out of 100 web developers, you discover that, okay, based on your own efforts that you put in, you are amongst the top 1% or the top 10%, and that is going to give you a hedge over every other person. Okay, interesting. I was looking forward to this question and answer session because it's actually the most interesting part of this. So I have one more question before I would also pass the mic to allow Oluwatobi. Oluwatobi was raising the hand. I believe Oluwatobi has a question. And if you have a question also signify so that you'll be allowed to ask your question before the call ends. Like I said, our webinar series is just going to be 1 hour, and 1 hour just to learn and just to discuss about skills and opportunities. So my next question still goes to Silas. And this question is one of the most important questions anybody will ask now when it comes to, you know, any tech skill whatsoever. And we would love to hear your opinion about it. So here's the question. So with the advent of AI, with the advent of artificial intelligence, what is the future of mobile app development? Is there sustainability in the mobile app development career, knowing that we have AI tools that, of course, people use now to be able to generate some widgets and stuff? So, what is the future of mobile app development? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So, what I've actually noticed is that there is still a future. There is still a future.
Mm,
And how do you know that you have a future in that space? It is because of the excellence you offer.
exactly.
If you offer quite if you offer value, I do say that I'm value driven, and because I'm value driven, I have to learn. I have to keep on learning. If you
Mm,
are someone that is value driven and people see that, this one just loves to provide value, they will not prefer to replace you with AI because they know that AI has limitations.
mm,
And then one thing you need to also learn is that one thing you also, as a mobile developer, one thing you also need to put in place is that you need to learn how to use AI yourself. Because
oh, wow.
when you know how to use AI yourself, you realize that you have two advantage, double advantage. Your advantage in terms of the knowledge set that you have and that you can also leverage on AI. And when they come to you, okay, can you help us integrate AI into this app? You realize that it is something that a lot of apps nowadays are using. Imagine WhatsApp also introduced AI. A lot of these top companies are introducing AI. So
Mm,
you
that's
also
true.
have to learn how to make use of AI. That actually helps you a lot to be relevant in the market. So you don't just, oh, I'm dormant in terms of knowledge and this. No, you keep on learning every day. You learn how to use AI yourself. So
Thank
there's
you
a
so
future
much.
for mobile developer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that answer. I want to believe that has answered a question in the mind of someone on the call. Who is wondering, oh, AI. Bro, keep learning. AI is not gonna take your job away. You'd rather be able to use AI to make your job faster and better. Okay, so we only have about 4 minutes to the end of this call. I'm going to give Oluwa Toby the opportunity to ask his question. Then we take final notes from Mfawa and Silas, and then we'll call it a wrap for our first webinar series for the year. We're going to be having another one in the next week on focused on web development, and then we'll be having more and more. So yeah, Oluwatobi, you can go ahead. Oluwatobi, we can't hear you. Are you using earpiece? Can you remove? If you're using the earpiece, can you remove it? Okay, Oluwatobi. If you're speaking, we can hear you. But what we're gonna do for the sake of our time, Oluwatobi, please can you drop your question on the community group? Then they would either Umfa or Silas would give you an answer to your question, all right? Because we can't hear you now. Okay, so just before we wrap up, let's take final words first from Mfawa and then from Silas, and then we'll close for the day. So yeah, Mfawa, your final words to newbies coming up.
Well, to the newbies in the mobile app space, mobile development space, I'd say there are a lot of opportunities for you going into mobile apps. Me myself, I started mobile app development last year, and so far, even though they are not, um, let me say, professional jobs, I've been able to work with teams, 4 different teams,
Interesting.
creating,
Wow.
I think, 2 of those apps are supposed to be launched this year or next year. And I have bragging rights to say, yes, I worked on this project. I worked on this
Interesting.
project with this team. Yeah. And at first, there was no pay. I was doing it for the experience. But after there's a particular the Untitled Designers meeting that I went for. Mr.
Yeah.
Johnson said something. He said, no matter whether you're looking for experience or not, never work any job for free. If you're looking for experience, you build your own apps, create your own projects, solve your own problems, and put it out there for other people to see and know that yes, this guy really knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
So that's just all I'll tell you.
All right. Thank you.
AI,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah. Thank
AI
you
is
so
your
much.
friend.
Sorry to cut you now. We just have a minute. We just have a minute for the call to end. So Silas, maybe just one word, and then the call is gonna end automatically, and we'll see you all in the next webinar. Yeah, Silas, go ahead.
All right. So my own word is that learn the basics well, as Miss Kamfa put in the slide. Learn the basics before you get on to become a pro.
Thank you
Definitely, you
so
get
much.
on to become a pro. That's
Thank
it.
you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely night. Bye. We'll see you in the next webinar. Details will be on the group. Take care.